What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. By the title of this video, we'll be finalizing about 95% of the turbo plumbing on the Rb25 Neo. Coolant will be hopefully finalized today, but in terms of the oil lines, in the last video I mentioned I am waiting on one specific 10 AN to 45 degree fitting that is still on back order, but hopefully that ships within the next couple of weeks. Also in the last video, I did mention I did order almost $800 worth of AN fittings and lines from Beachworks, and they finally showed up. So I'm incredibly stoked to finalize most of the plumbing on the Rb25 Neo. Again, we want only what's best for the Neo, and we want a leak-free system. Just want to give a couple of updates before we do the unboxing on the Beachworks AN fittings and lines. This morning I went ahead and re-torqued, did a bolt check on the hot and cold side hardware. Things did loosen up a little bit, but I got everything re-torqued to 23 foot-pounds and 25 foot-pounds on the hardware. The other day, my correct size power steering belt finally came in. This is a Bondo 4PK 915 millimeter, and it fits perfectly. I just need to make sure I have the proper belt tension. I have a little bit more I can go off of, but I feel like this should be perfect. All the other belts feel good. This actually feels a little bit too loose, but last time I had this too tight and it essentially froze the motor and it wouldn't spin. So hopefully this is the correct tension. And we do have some more parts also on the way for the 25 Neo. I went ahead and ordered a clear cam cover, so hopefully that looks good. And some other parts are shipping from Japan within the next 3 days. And in the last video, I mentioned that we will shortly be resuming the JZX100 Mark II Tour content. I got some goodies coming, and I came from Japan the other day. Packages 3 of 6 are finally here. I'm gonna give you guys a little teaser. Just give me like 3 to 4 weeks to resume on the Mark II content. I wanna get the Skyline in a good spot, essentially sent out for fabrication, so I have like a good week or two to work on the Mark II. But here is your teaser right now. And you all know 2 out of the 3 packages what they are, so let's just go ahead and open these up real quick. And here we have it, everybody. The Beachworks AN fittings and line I ordered last week. Also, my Nismo hard rubber or stronger reinforced trans mount came in. Shout out to Nismo Spark Plugs. Got all of our AN fittings here. I got the titanium ones for the turbo, and I have the black colored fittings for the oiling system. So my oil block plate, head drain. Also went ahead and picked myself up a universal fuel filter. I've read nothing but good reviews on this particular fuel filter, so we'll be utilizing this. We'll go ahead and rivet this inside the chassis, but before I install this, I need to, of course, have the motor inside the car. So this should be everything I need for today's install. In terms of fueling, there's probably around 4 or 5 more fittings I need to order, but again, before I order those fittings, I need the motor inside the car to have the correct angle. And then we have our 20 feet of 6 AN steel braided hose, and I believe 10 feet of 10 AM steel braided hose, and I do have hopefully enough heat management to cover this here. All right, so I went ahead and installed the appropriate fittings on the accommodating parts. I'm not too sure if I mentioned this already, but I did go full PTFE AN fittings and lines. Oil filter looking good, flex fuel sensor looking good. I forgot the EFI connectors that come with the flex fuel sensor were black, and I ordered titanium. Sort of bothers me, but I'm gonna go ahead and run it. And then on the Improved Racing remote oil block, this thing is an absolute unit. I did went ahead the other day and buy the accommodating filter for this thing, and it just looks out of this world. I did go ahead just now and install our 45 degree 10 AN fittings onto the Tark's oil plate. This will route nicely to our Improv Racing remote oil filter, and then this will route nicely to our Koyo oil cooler once I buy that. Again, this is an absolute unit and I cannot wait to see it. So now at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and remake and make AN lines. I got the 90 on the cold side where I want it, and I got the 120 on the hot side where I want it. Cold side will just route into the block here, pretty easy. And then the 120 will route nicely around the block underneath the intake manifold into our boost docks heater hose delete kit. And don't worry guys, I will show you how to do this step by step. Just got done making the coolant cold line to the block. Essentially it's almost the same. Again, just put the new Deechworks 90-degree AN fitting on. Unfortunately, my vise did break, so we need to run to Harbor Freight real quick, pick us up a nice swivel vise table and get this fully seated with the tools that I have. But it's routed nicely. In the very near future, I will go ahead and buy the Artec turbo blanket or heat blanket for the manifold. And then with our downpipe and our dump pipe tube, I'm of course going to get those heat wrapped and keep all the heat on the hot side. So when I return to Harbor Freight, I'll show you guys how to make AN lines. Again, very self-explanatory, very easy, providing you have the correct tools. And we'll start with the oil head drain. All right, now I'm gonna show you all how to make fancy AN lines. So of course you have your AN fitting, your AN line. I would highly suggest and invest in some AN tools. Here I have this adjustable aluminum AN specific socket that goes from 0 to 16 AN. I believe the brand is Evil Energy, got on Amazon. And I also have these ergonomic billet aluminum wrenches, also the Amazon special. These will prevent any excess scoring on your fittings, because if you're spending anywhere between $16 to $40 on a fitting, you might as well invest in the correct tools. So we have our PTFE fitting, what we're using specifically, and that comes in 3 parts. So we got 1, 2, which I believe they call an olive fitting, and then 3. First, before measuring, or you should always measure 3 times before you cut, go ahead and slip the 3rd end onto your fitting, like so. All right, and then next, with your olive fitting, you're gonna wanna get that in between your steel braid and the Teflon. So this will like seat in, and it should be flush into the grooves that you can potentially see here on camera. And then once the olive is seated, you'll go ahead and put the inserts. So essentially it fits in like, let's pretend the olive's on here. It'll sit in here. This might fight me. Yeah, so this is gonna fit inside your Teflon line, and then you just screw the bottom portion in and it'll seal everything 100%. I would highly recommend, again, your tools, and if you have one, some aluminum vise inserts. Okay, so if you can see, I got the olive fitting on. Make sure that this is as flat and as flush as possible. And we have our connecting fitting on the bottom here. And we have our main fitting. We'll just slide in to the best of your abilities. This may take a little bit of effort. Okay, so you have your olive fitting sitting in between your steel braid and the Teflon. You got your main fitting pushed in. Make sure it is flat. Get your bottom fitting. Just kind of shove that in and twist, like so. And this will taper everything together. And then, you'll have this gap. Once you have the gap, go ahead and use your fancy AN tools, or if you don't care about your expensive AN fittings, just use a chrome hand wrench. That should work just fine. All right, and now the final product. AN fitting has minimal scoring. Give it a good tug. It's not going anywhere. So now next part is to measure 3 to 5 times. We'll go ahead and wrap this tight in some duct tape. That's gonna prevent the steel braids or your regular braid from flaring out. And then we'll go ahead, cut it. People use like chain cutters. I just went ahead and used a cutting wheel. It's just the easiest for me personally. And once we have everything measured and cut, we'll go ahead and install our fitting that goes to the oil pan. All right, and just like that, we have the oil pan side done. Looks amazing, everything was fully seated. Went ahead and threw on the Funk Motorsports heat sleeving as well. Help protect the line and keep the temps down. Now let's go solidify this on the 25 Neo. All right, just got done installing our new AN line to our Nitto oil head drain kit. Routes very nicely, and we still have a little bit of slack, which is always good. And a little bummed I miscalculated my measurements on the heat sleeving, but this should be okay. Again, we're gonna get all this heat managed, the blanket, downpipe, and dump pipe covered up in some nice heat management. So hot temperature shouldn't be an issue on this side. Everything's looking good. Now it's time to make our final turbo coolant line with our 120. So again, going to the right side of the turbo here, downwards behind the block and into our boost docks heater hose elite kit to this 90. Alright everybody, the turbo is officially 95 or 99% plumbed up. Oil feed, cold coolant, just finalized the hot coolant part on the turbo. Got the remaining 60N heat sleeve I have, which honestly should be enough. Wrapped around the block and then into the boost docks heater hose lead kit. I'll go ahead and put some P-clamps, get this nice and fitted of course before I drop it in the motor like so. But hot side is looking good, looking very hot and looking very nice. This has been such an amazing learning experience, guys. Yes, Albert essentially built the motor for me, but reassembling everything and doing all the plumbing work is just a whole another ballpark. It's a whole new game, and really happy taking this job on upon myself and learning as I go. Also saving me a ton of money as well. Super stoked. So at this moment in time, I'm just waiting on the oil drain fitting that goes into the block. Again, it's like a 3/4, goes to a 45 degree, then to a 45 degree 10 AN, and now this shoot right up into the oil drain here. So hopefully, again, this isn't on back order for much longer, because next week, the Skyline is going in to get the engine bay resprayed, and then 3 weeks after that, it's time to take the Skyline to GSK Fab to get all the fabrication work done. And in order to do that, we need the motor in the Skyline. And other than that, guys, that is all I have for you in this video. Thank you so very much for the continued love and support. I hope you're all enjoying the progress we have been making on the 25 Neo. Just a couple more months and the Skyline will be driving, drifting, attending Crossing Coffee, point of view videos, just the works. Let me know what you guys want to see when that time comes. But it is now time for me to spend the rest of my evening with my friends, get some dinner, relax, and jump back on the grind. So thank you everybody again for the continued love and support. And if you're new to the channel too, want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be awesome. And remember, aim high, drive low. I'll catch you next video. Take care.